So thank you, Nisha. So what I was saying is that I was welcoming the new villages that signed up in the last month. So Laguna Beach, Columbus, and Greenville. With these villages, we are glad you joined the group. And then we have a list of new features in the new version. As Andy said, the new version will be released on Sunday. So some of these improvements are not visible in your own village websites at this point, but you will be able to do this from Monday. So from here, I go straight to the demo. And on the demo, I want to show you, as we said, the membership management features. But before I go into membership management, I need to show you one important update, which is the possibility that now this logo image and the header image on top are now editable for your own villages. So this is the way it works. You go to contact page, and when you're logged in and have admin rights, basically at the bottom of this page, you have edit contact info. See this button right here? So basically this will allow you to change the logo and header image, and basically also manage your contact information like your Facebook, social accounts, address, etc. So initially I want to show you that we have this random logo with a bridge as a header image. So now let's change that very quickly. And basically here, this is a random address so that you see it's not a true address. Then you can add your phone. Let's do this one quickly. 925. What is, if you have the real one?
283.
283.
3500.
3500. Okay, you can customize also the contact us text that we have on that contact page. And basically here, you can choose your logo image. For example, here, if we choose the La Morinda logo, and then here you choose if it's a vertical logo or a horizontal logo, and then you can also choose your header image. So here in this case, I want to use, for example, this header image that you find on your computer. You have some recommendations for the size of these images, and then basically when you save, it will take a little bit because it's uploading the images, but it's really pretty quick. So you see here that now you have the contact information we defined here. So if you leave it empty, it's not showing. If you put something, it's showing. Okay, so if you add your Twitter or your Facebook or something, it will show here. And basically the other thing that happened is that now we can see the logo and the new header image. So this is the Morinda logo, and it's Portsmouth, New Hampshire, one of our villages engaging agent. So you can change them as much as you want, but obviously maybe it's not to be changed every day. Okay, so that was only for this new feature that is important because you need to update your contact info for Sunday. And now let's move on to membership management. So I want to start this example with some new members that recently joined a village, and this is just a simple example. And in this case, what I would do is say, well, we have a new member, is a new person, or a person that exists already in the database, but in my example, it's a new person. And basically here I say M plus Manuel. Oops. And I'm creating this user, and I subscribe him to the newsletter and save. Okay. This is nothing new. You already know how to do this. And basically here, you can add a picture for this person. It's here, profile square. So this is my picture. And you don't need to add a picture all the time, but if you have one, obviously helps the village see what this person looks like. Okay, so now this is the information I entered. I can add the date of birth, a phone, cell phone. You can add more information down here. So basically, this is all information about the person. And basically, one thing that we would do is that we would unban this person so that the member is able to log in. Okay, but at this point, it's not even a member. It's just a person we created in the database. So let me add. Oops. My address right here. Okay. up, and then I save the address. So okay, these people management, and now what is interesting is that I can create this person as a volunteer, or I can create this person as a member. In this case, it's a member. So we would come down here and say, the system gives me a member number by default, active, can choose my membership type and a primary, and the system chooses like today's date as since an expiration date. So I can save this information, and now this person is an active member, right? Now, so this person is in. But in this example, also what I want to show you is that sometimes you have household members. So in this case, you can change the household type. You save the membership info. And when you save the membership info, then this gives you the opportunity to enter the name of basically the second person in the household, which in this case is my wife, and I'm gonna call her Claire. Okay, and then I create partner contact info. Okay, and then you check here. Basically, there is this is my profile, and on the member tab that we were editing, now there is an associated membership, which is Claire Acevedo, who has member number 5. And then basically from here, I can either search Claire here from the search person, as we usually do for all people, or this is also a link, so you can go to Claire's profile automatically if you click on that, okay? So this shows me her profile information. So here you will see it saved the person's name, first name, last name, date of birth, etc. for her. We took over the address, so from the primary member to the second member. So to save you some time, you don't need to enter that information. And basically here in the member information, it's all good for you already, right? Active, household. Obviously, you can change this information if it needs to be changed, but at this point, it's good. One thing we can do, yeah. So basically here, I know I have a picture. This is Claire, Square. It's always funny because here's my, yeah, it's Claire underscore Square is the name of the image. So I can add her profile picture. Okay, and now we are both as enter as household members, right? Now the next thing I want to do is that now that I've created the membership information, something I would do is come back here and give this person the availability to log in. Is basically send the password instructions to Manuel. So Manuel will receive password initialization instructions, and then I would need to do the same for Claire, and then she will receive an email to choose a password, right? Now, next thing we need to do is that basically, 5 minutes. We need to do these meetings more often. But basically, here you have different things you can do. One of them is paying for the membership. So if the person signed up as a member and send a check with the form, well, basically you would click on this pay for membership button. This takes automatically the fees of his membership type. So you see it's membership, household memberships, that is this fee that you can configure, and then from here you can make a credit card payment, or in this case it was a check payment that is paid today with a status of paid, with a check number that is 1234. Submit. Okay. So basically this, when doing this, basically we finished creating Claire and Manuel as members. And now there is another thing I want to show, is that you can see these people in the admin menu, people management, and you can have a look at the list of active members, right? So here in the list of active members, I see that there is Claire and Manuel. Obviously, it's actually good because it shows me that we didn't set the expiration date. So basically, I need to go back and say on the expiration date, needs to be 2018. Save, and then for Manuel 2018, and then save the membership information. Okay, and now if we go to people management, active members, you see that there is all people looking good, and they are sorted by full name, but I can also sort them by expiration date. If you sort by expiration date, basically you see who are the members that are expiring the soonest. So this is in September next year, and these 2 new members that we created are in October next year. Now, the next thing I want to do is that I'm going to Manuel's profile, because I can add some additional information for this member. In particular, you have several fields you can enter, like primary, doctor, etc. In this case, I want to enter some emergency contacts. So I would say Elda Rodriguez. This is some number. Oops, sorry. And then and actually in this case, it's my mom. I mean, most of the time it would be a son or a daughter or anything else, but in this case, Elda is my mom. So I can save this. Okay, so I have the emergency contact and other fields you can enter. And then basically what I like doing also is going here to activity, and on activity, you have the possibility to send a message to this person using some templates. So here you click send a message to this person, you choose one of the available templates. In this case, I can only see one, but you can set up more. And when you choose that, basically what happens is that it creates an email for you with, pre-filling some text that you can define. Your membership with our village will expire. And then all these fields in blue are actually fields that are taken from the database. So you don't need to remember or type the fees of this specific member or the expiration date for the specific member. It also takes the emergency contact information we entered for my mom, so that you don't need, so that the member can, contact you back and then update their member information, right? So basically, next thing I would do is just, I can save this draft and send this message later, or send this message to the member. And then I'll need to stop here. There's much more, but we'll need to wait until we do our next meeting. Maybe if I can just say a thing in 2 seconds is that I'm going to the conference in Baltimore, and I'm glad to see you all there. I hope if you are going to the conference that you will come by, because I definitely want to meet in person with all of you, and I look forward to do it. Okay, back to you, Andy.
Okay, Andy's back on, and I'm going back to share my screen.
Manuel, can I ask you a question? This is Diane.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do I remember we talked about that there isn't an option to change a picture on the profile?
Yes.
Did you fix that, or do I need to put it on the long list?
Yeah, it's a good time to ask it. So basically, when we added the picture for me and for Claire, basically it's there, but we are missing a link that allows you to remove the picture so that you can replace it. And that's a good example from Clayton Valley, where basically we do something and you have some ideas or improvement ideas, and then basically those need to go through Andy, through the users group, so that we know the list of improvements and basically add them. So I let you, Andy, explain the process, but basically it's a very good idea. We definitely want to do it. And it's on our mind, and then basically now it's about the rest of the meeting that we're doing today, which is prioritizing the next thing that need to be done soon. So to answer the question quickly, it's like no, it's not done yet, and it's what we are discussing now is what things need to be done.
Okay, thank you.
You can explain that better than me.
Okay, good. Let's move to that one. Are you going to stop the screen?
I thought I did.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Andy, we can't hear you.
Okay, now you can hear me? Hopefully. Okay.
Okay, now. Okay, now we're going to move to where we stand on action lists. And I emailed a Word file version of this. And so this is a summary from that Word file. But what I want to go through is what has been accomplished since the last time we had a users meeting. And obviously the green ones are the best news. And Manuel has been very disciplined about saying, okay, we can get this fixed. So what we have when it says it's fixed and confirmed 10/24, that means that our group out here, our tech group, Three Village Tech Group, has looked at this and has tested it, and we confirmed that it works. And these fixes will then show up on the Sunday night update of software, right, Manuel?
Yes.
He's nodding. Okay. So very quickly, I'll just go through some of these because they came in from lots of different sources. The specifics are listed in more detail in the Word file that I sent around. There's 7 pages, and each one of these bugs, the first category was bugs, has a description. So in item, let me go back to that one. Item number 3, the menu being unresponsive was a request, I think, from Walnut Creek Village, and it really needs to be expanded more, so we moved it to the question section, which we'll deal with later. The number 4 is data entry, and that's been fixed. There's a user interface problem where drop-down arrows were not visible. That is, when you have a drop-down menu, sometimes there's an arrow in it and sometimes there's not. And it also varies with which browser you're using. So that has been made standard. Grammatical error, fixed. Abbreviations were inconsistent, like sometimes it was NBR and NUM and pound sign, so that's all been fixed. The number 9 has been moved to questions because we need to look at that one a little bit further. When Manuel's software generates a weekly update that is emailed to all of our members and contacts, it says for the week, like from 1/7 to 1/14, and then it would start the next week 1/14 again. So that's been fixed. Member relationships is more complex. It's more than a bug. So we're looking at that further. And then finally, the Contact Us page has been fixed, and you saw Manuel actually using that to change the logo and the pictures and change the contact information. So there's been a lot accomplished since the last time we met. And I want to thank Manuel for working hard on this. And also what I'm trying to do is be a very good filter and coach for Manuel so that we do these things in kind of a rational order. And what our local tech group is doing is trying to set priorities that are reasonable. We may not get it right all the time, but that's what we're trying to do. Now, the second category is improvement requests. And these aren't just little bugs. These are something that are a little bit more important. And you can see the Contact Us page has already been done. We've had a big conversation here about access to style sheets. And there's a project started, Manuel working with Walnut Creek Village, where we have a gifted volunteer screen designer. And we're looking at if it would be possible to set up style sheets so that all of our villages want to have our own look and feel. We don't want to be like anybody else, and we have our own branding, local needs, and so it would be very nice to develop a style sheet so that you could very easily look different than other villages. And we're working on that, and we'll keep you posted on the progress, but we have an active project underway. Number 16, there's been a request that we have a general purpose reporting tool. And what that means is, rather than Manuel's software containing all the different reports that everybody wants, and as the number of users grows, the number of requests for different reports will grow. And so we thought it would be very useful to be able to just dump the contents of the database into a general purpose report writer so that we can all do our own report writing. There is here at Lamorinda Village, one of our volunteers is using Microsoft Access to actually do this with great success, so that you can take all of the database that we have in Helpful Village, put it into an Access database, and then do whatever you want with it. It becomes read-only. You know, we don't go backwards and then update, but that's an idea that that might be of use to other villages, and we can talk about that in future meetings. Number 17 is data validation, and the examples there are dates and zip codes and telephone numbers and things like that. And what we want to do, we already have some inconsistent data in the databases because it's been allowed in. So over time, we've got to clean that up. But in the meantime, we need to validate all that data. Adding pictures, you've already seen that in operation. And then finally, permissions. And what that means is right now we have, I think, only, we have 2.
No, we have more.
We have more, okay.
Yeah.
And so what Manuel wants to do is he's looking at new templates. Maybe you would end up with 5 or 7 templates for different kinds of people, volunteers who work on the system from time to time, but we don't want them to have the capability to do destructive things.
Yeah.
So different levels of authorization, security.
Yeah. And basically, if I can maybe add an example, we have events manager rights today, service request manager rights today, website editing rights, and then what we're thinking about adding is more like a treasurer rights linked to, you know, the money, and then also service providers manager. So if you have a person in your village that, you know, has the mission to manage the providers list, we will add you know, a level of rights so that he can do that and not, you know, change other things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Moving on to the next one, completions. As of today, and these are listed by the village that requested them. So there are certain things that have been added by requests from one village, and we want to be sure that everybody knows about it. So these will be included in the software for everybody. So number 1 is accepting donations for an event. If you have someone who says, we're going to run this nice event and I'd like to contribute the food or something like that. And so you can do that when you're setting up the event. You can say a donation goes with this. Daily service request email is being sent to multiple locations now. Let me look at that on our more detailed list.
Yeah, no, that one's more about operational. It's like the village administrator just signed up as a volunteer, so I mean, maybe it's a good example. Can
you hear Manuel when he's speaking?
Yeah, I can
come
get
over
closer.
Here. Yeah.
So basically, I can give you an example. I think this point was about, you know, the village coordinator wanted to be aware of the email messages that were being sent out to volunteers. So that's a good idea if you want to do that, and you can simply go to your volunteer tab for the administrator and add yourself to the volunteer activities that you want. Say that you're a driver or something, and then basically if you do that, you'll start receiving the emails daily at 10 as any other volunteer does. So that's just more something you can do on your end to subscribe basically to this volunteer email.
Okay. Why don't you, number 4 is the treasurer and donation chair will receive donation emails. Yeah. So they're both informed about donations being made.
Yes. And this is good. I after the meeting we need to send a document out. But basically, let me explain this new feature. Is at the beginning we had one email address for the village, which we used to call like admin, village admin, where basically every time something happened on the website, the email was going to the village main email address. So now what we do is that the system accepts in configurations different emails for different people. So you can give us an email for, you know, the main contact page, another email for a person that is receiving application forms, another email for people that are receiving events, and another email for the treasurer when there is, donations or payments that are being made. So basically, we can define several email addresses on our end. And then you don't. So basically, these emails go out to different people. If you don't define all these separate emails, then we send all the emails to the main admin address you have been using. So it's an extra possibility. If you don't want to use it, don't worry about it. You'll still get all the emails.
Okay. And number 5 was a request from Marin Villages, and what they wanted was to not sit around waiting for a very long report. And so the option is available to go to what Manuel has called async printing, which means it prints in the background, and then when it's finished, a message is sent to info at your village now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, but right now the option button isn't there. So
it's now there for the new version. So
okay,
yeah,
we'll be there on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. And then finally, we have a list of pending questions, and a lot of these are clarification needed. So one of the items from the beginning that we thought was a bug is the unresponsive menu. And what we need to do is work on this more consistently. Some people like it, do you hover, do you click, that sort of thing. And so we have a continuing discussion to clarify that. Mm-hmm. And let me just, this number 9 is similar, that if you make the window much smaller when you're looking at a particular screen, when does it go into the narrow screen format that you would use on an iPhone or something like that? So these again are probably discussion of items. Number 12 and 21, and let me just insert here that these numbers, these ID numbers, we're getting all kinds of requests, and we have a list right now that's in the 70s, I believe. And what I'm doing here in these meetings is summarizing the high priority items. But once you send us a request, and I'll refresh the process so that you know how to do that. We keep track of number 12 and number 21 because they came from 2 different villages, and we never lose them. But we'll try to make sure that they're resolved or they won't go away, is what I'm saying. So this 12 and 21 have to do with the complexity of making changes to the relationship between partners. So you might have a primary and a secondary member, and one person passes away, and then it could be that that person would become, let's say a surviving spouse would become the primary member. And then perhaps a new relationship is established, and that complexity needs to be explained, and also the capability has to be probably enhanced. So that requires a lot more work than just fixing a bug. And then number 57 is really in the documentation category, and it says we would really like to know how email templates work, and we would like to be able to send out emails through MailChimp that are filled in from the database. Mm-hmm. So those are the questions pending as of right now. And oops, I didn't really want to do that, but okay. I want to go back and say one last thing, and that is, okay, the development process. I had a request that says, could you remind me what we do when we have a request? And here's what you do. 1, 2, 3, 4. The email requests, and we actually have a team, the 3 Villages team. We have 5 people on it, and you will send your request to this email address, hvusers@walnutcreekvillage.org. Leland Foster is the lead technical guy. And then this organization, this little group, TVT, will verify, try to understand what it is. They'll call you back or email you back if they don't understand what the request is. But then, get it organized so that we understand it. Then I will take it to Manuel, and we will discuss what the priority should be and when it, ideally when it will be fixed or changed. And then fourth, we'll document and distribute the updates through this users group, these monthly meetings. So I hope that that's a good refresher on how to do it. We actually have, and this process isn't perfect, but what we want you to do is send your requests into that HV user's email, and then we'll do our best to rationalize them. And we're getting the same requests from multiple villages, so we'll combine them into one request. So let me stop the share and get back on conversation. Now, are there questions you have? I will mute, and someone who wishes to ask a question, please go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Nisha might have to do that.
Okay, Nisha, are you?
I don't have to do it, but who is it that wants to speak? They can just unclick the mute on the left bottom hand corner of their screen.
Oh, okay.
Okay, fine.
Now you're muted, Andy, and we can't hear you. I just unmuted you. Andy, I just unmuted you to speak.
Yeah.
Can I go back to the question?
So if anyone has any questions, there is a mute and unmute button on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It's a little green microphone. Just go ahead and unmute if you have a question, or type in the chat box. I just typed in it and I said here.
This is John Fay from Lifelong Laguna.
Yes, John, we can hear you.
Okay. So, Manuel, I think I'd mentioned this with you once, is the capability for an admin to be able to log into Helpful Village as, say, a volunteer or a member, and with different rights, but using that admin account to be able to transfer from the various login types. So that way, as an admin, I can see exactly what each type of role and member rights, what their view is of Helpful Village. And I think, Manuel, you mentioned that once the admin changes their rights access, it would be unable to be switched back to the admin. So I was wondering if we can make that capability for the admin to be able to toggle through the various access rights.
Yeah, so, we're muted, or
No, we're
okay.
on. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, John, for the question. So definitely, well, first of all, I understand the value of putting yourself in the shoes of a member or a volunteer. So that makes total sense. When you're using the platform, obviously we kind of the pages look alike, but admins have extra powers, obviously, like edit the contact info, like changing the logo and the header is something that only the admin can do. So on the website, sometimes we check what is your level of rights, right?
What I did at Clayton Valley Village is I set up a test person. I called him Test Joe Black. And so that person didn't have any rights. So then I could log in with that person and as a volunteer if I wanted, or as just as a member, to look at the way their screen and stuff looks like. I don't know if that was the way to do it, but that's kind of what I did.
Yeah, absolutely. So Diane, I think that's basically our recommendation today. It's the most efficient is that you create another account as a volunteer or as a member with a different email address, because the system will never allow you to have two users with the same email address. So if you have two email addresses, you can easily, basically do that. And then basically, log in, with this other user account gives you the exact same look the member will see or the volunteer will see. And then when you're doing that test, you can log out and then log in again with your admin account. So that's definitely what works best, because it's the true system. I understand that what John is saying, we could imagine a possibility where basically, you're an admin but now acting as a member, but implies a lot of code basically on double checking the assuming third party. I don't know. I mean, I get the idea when we can think about that. In the short term, it definitely requires some work. And in the short term, we have a very good solution, like Diane was saying, is that, if you create a separate account with another email address, you see exactly what the member or the volunteer can see. Still, I still think it makes sense. It should go into the list, but so we need to do, as we do for all the improvement requests, is do a cost benefit analysis. Is how much work does it take to implement that feature, and then what's the benefit we get from it. Obviously there is some benefit, but if it's something that can be achieved in another way, maybe there are other more urgent things. So I don't know. Definitely the priorities should be discussed on the list, and definitely that request should be on the improvements list.
Fair enough. Thank you.
We have another question that
Can't hear you, Andy.
Okay, yeah, we have another question from the chat. Relationships. I'd like to add another category for relationships, duplicate entry. We have several people in our database using 2 different emails, the same person using 2 different emails. I'd like to link them to themselves through a relationship, or how do we handle people who use 2 different emails? Like a business email and a private email.
Yeah. So basically, I need to check where I have the feeling we have done that once already. But it's basically you have
Good, go ahead.
Sorry, handling this mute. So basically, let me see here. Yeah. So basically, on the general tab of each person, if you know where there is the first name, last name, email, etc., there is a link to more, and in more you have other fields like salutation, middle name, mailing name, ethnicity, gender, and one of these fields is secondary email. So basically, you would enter the secondary email in that field so that you have it on your record. But there is always one main email, and that main email is the one you use to log in.
Does that clarify it for you, Nancy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Any others?
I have one. This is Gary Hammer from Sierra Foothills Village. And maybe this is too broad a question for this group, and you probably all know it, but I'm curious about, being new to the software, I'm curious how the software handles the differences between, or the similarities between, a volunteer and a member, how that is tracked in the software. Are they kept separate? Or if obviously a member can also be a volunteer, perhaps a volunteer may not be a member. I mean, how do all those things differentiated, handled in the database, if you will? Like I say, maybe that's too broad a question.
No, it's good. I think we can answer that. So basically, remember the demo we did before? You first create the person, and the person has an email or some information, and then on the user profile you have different tabs. One of these tabs was the address, another was member, another one was volunteer. So basically, for each person you can add membership information if it's a member, or if it's only a volunteer and not a member, you would go to the volunteer tab and add all the information on the volunteer tab, right? If you want a more technical answer, it is a relational database. So basically, there is a user table information, and then there are separate associated tables, one for volunteers, one for members, and one for other things.
So in my particular case, I am a member and a volunteer and a donor simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 3 tables attached to my basic record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So in Andy's case, he has all of them, but you can have people in your database that only is only one thing, and you can also add a person, and we definitely recommend that. That is not a member, not a volunteer, not a donor, but you just want to have this person signed up for the
newsletter.
For the newsletter.
Correct.
So you don't need to be a specific role or particular access.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So this is Carol from Clayton Valley Village. We were having an issue with needing to change an event date, and we couldn't do it because the software told us that people had already bought tickets.
Mhm.
And so we're wondering how we can take that event and move it to a different date.
Sure. Yeah. So definitely good question, and definitely. I mean, when you can create, I mean, not for you, but for other people that don't know about it, it's like you can have events with different properties. Some of them where you accept registrations for free, you know, if it's a public event. And in some occasions, maybe a fundraiser, you can create tickets for this event. And then when we allow people to pay and register and, you know, buy tickets, then we are much more basically careful in what we allow. So if you're changing the date, and not only you, but it can be another volunteer, obviously can be very, very dangerous. So we prefer this solution in which, you know, if this happens on an event that is selling tickets, actually what we did is that you sent an email to us, and we definitely kind of, you know, there is an admin solution to the point. I understand that sometimes, you know, you may be thinking, well, if I can do it, I can change the date. Yeah, but you also need to think that sometimes it's not you. Maybe it's another volunteer that is changing the date, and then can create some problems. So.
Well, I would assume that the volunteer doesn't have the admin privileges to do that, but maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong about that.
No. What I mean is that so the admin gives the rights, you know, for each person, but you know, if you, for example, Anne here in La Morinda, if she's executive director, she can give this right to different volunteers in the village. So maybe you can have 2 or 3 people that are events manager in the village. So not everyone can do it. It's someone that has been authorized. But what I mean is that, well, basically, you know, so.
Well, the event that we were particularly talking about was we were changing our annual meeting. There's no tickets that are available for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, nobody's paying for that.
Yeah.
And yet we couldn't change the date of it, which we felt we needed to do. And so how we had to do it was just put a big canceled in front of the original one and put a new one in there. I mean, it seems like an odd way to be able to change
Sure.
it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's people were paying for the event, right? Because it was the fundraiser.
No.
Oh, I
It's
don't
a
know.
different
No,
event.
they're not paying for
Maybe,
this event. No.
Well, then, I mean, you can change the dates for an event if there is no tickets. So I
So as
don't know
long
now
as-
the specifics, but
so-
basically it's only maybe, I don't know.
So had people already registered for the event, Carol?
Yes, people had already registered for the
Okay,
event.
so there wasn't money attached, but it was just people attached.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what the issue is. So if once somebody's registered
Okay.
for an event,
Mhm.
we can't change the date if for some reason we have to move it to a different
Sure.
date or a different month.
Yeah. So for me, if there was no money involved, you should have been able. So I can double check. What I recommend is that, you know, we don't go into more detail now in the discussion because we need to look into the specifics, but we're writing it down and then basically bring an answer in our next meeting. Definitely, if you know, if there is no money involved and you want to change the date of your event, you should definitely be able to do so. This is what I was expecting the system to do. So yeah, we'll do for that. If there is some money, obviously we need to be careful that, you know.
And there might be another option to that might be that once the date is changed, that there's some sort of communication to the people who are registered so that they know, hey, the date changed.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. That would be great.
Yeah,
able
so
to do
something
that.
that would automate it so that this event date has been a date and time or what have you would be.
Yeah.
Okay, now is this is someone going to write this up as a improvement request?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, who wants to do that? Nancy or Carol? Are you willing to do that to get it into the system?
Diane, I hope you're going to do that. You were the one that's going to do that, right?
Well, I have it written down so I can.
We'll put it in for you. How's
Yeah.
that?
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I'll connect with Diane.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left, I think, 10. Any other questions?
Yeah. Maybe I have one more thing to say, and then I'll let Andy, say the final word. But basically, I just wanted to announce that besides these improvements that we have been discussing, we are announcing a major addition to Helpful Village at the conference. So there is an exciting new feature. That basically will bring us a kind of like a surprise for the conference. So if you are at the conference, come over and you will be hearing about it. Even if you don't go to the conference, you can expect a new, I think it's a very interesting new feature that is called Village Talk. And this you will be hearing about this more soon. We are working on it. It's about to be ready, and we will be releasing that at the conference. So it's 5, 6, 7. I think it's 5 of November.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, good. Well, I thank you all for attending the user group, and obviously we're getting a little bit better at it. Month by month, we really want to add some educational activities, and under best practices, what one village doing something really well should be spread around to other villages who might want to do it that way as well. And in addition, as we get into this style sheets for the look and feel of your website, if one village develops something that is really nice, we can then ask that village to allow us to copy or use it. So we need to share the wealth. And the same way with reports. If someone develops a really nice report, we'd like to be able to share that around the user group as well. So the user group is not just, trying to get Manuel to do everything we want, but also to help village to village, peer to peer, help each other be more efficient in the way we run our villages. So that's our intention. And we thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in Baltimore, those who will be there.
Yes. And if anybody is an executive director, if you're going to the dinner on Monday, they have those dinner groups. So if anybody's going, I hope to meet you there. So I'll be there. I get in on Sunday, so I'll be there through Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, leave meeting. All right.